to share that along with Indie Maven, we've partnered with Indiana University, Kelley School of Business, Indianapolis, while we continue to interview female founders in our Indianapolis community. Whether you're ready to deepen your knowledge after a few years in the field or you're looking to expand your experience-filled resume, you can be ready for whatever life brings with the top-ranked Kelley School of Business Evening MBA program in downtown Indianapolis. In 24 months, while you work, you'll learn to make better decisions, chart success for organizations, and unlock the talent of people. You'll find your passion and you'll be prepared for new doors of opportunity as they open. Learn more by clicking the link in the description below. Hi and hello, welcome back to Founder to Founder. I'm Arianna Cruz, I'm the founder of More Magazine, where we work to make opportunities reachable for everyone by curating content that educates, inspires, and calls people to action. I'm so excited. Today I am sitting with the masterminds behind Black Girls Eating podcast, Tanorria and Candace. We are hanging out in Gallery 924, part of the Indie Arts Council, where right now they have on exhibit New Photography on view through March 17th. They do have First Fridays, the beginning of every month, so check them out and come downtown and see what they have on view. We're gonna dive into it. Okay. So, Candace, Tanorria, do you mind introducing yourselves a little bit?
Sure. Go for it.
So I am Candace Simmons. I am a creator, food creative. Probably been working in food my entire life in some form or phrase. I fried my first egg at the age of 6, so that's kind of been like my story to go to in terms of food. I have loved food, and it's probably leads me the most. So I connected with Tanorria in 2017, I believe.
I think so. That was our first in person.
That was our first in person, but I started following her and fangirling over her when she was on MasterChef. So that's kind of the start of our relationship.
I am Tanorria Askew. I'm owner of Tanorria's Table, which is a personal chef company where I basically bring the restaurant to you. I've been doing that full time for almost 6 years. And I just released my first cookbook, Staples Plus 5, 100 Simple Recipes to Make the Most of Your Pantry. That came out November of last year, and I'm also a diversity, equity, and inclusion consultant. I consult with small businesses and nonprofits on making their workplace more inclusive and make it equitable. Those are the things I do.
That's awesome. Thank you both so much. I love that you were fangirling over her. I've been fangirling over both of you since it was Indie Maven's Pursue Your Passions conference. I shared that out, and I just got chills thinking about listening to you guys talk. I was sitting at Longsharp Gallery where I was working as a creative coordinator, and I just had one screen up of you guys going at it, and then trying to work while also being inspired and learning how to pursue my passions with Indie Maven. So I'm just so thankful for you guys taking time to spend with me today.
Yeah, well, thank you for having us. Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you.
So many things to talk about. So we have the podcast, that's season 3 is coming up, and then the cookbook as well. Where do you want to start?
Podcast, it's I always tell people that with Black Girls Eating, it is the one part of my job that doesn't feel like work.
Right.
And it's because I get to have so much fun doing it. Who wouldn't love hanging out with their friends? Because that's essentially what we're doing.
Yeah.
When we're recording, we're just hanging out, recording the typical conversations we would be having, even if there wasn't a microphone in front of us.
Yeah.
And so our 3rd season comes out on our 1-year anniversary, which is International Women's Day. I keep calling it our cute little baby podcast, but Candace is like, no, boo, it's not a cute little baby.
It's not a cute little baby.
We are making waves, and we are very, very proud of it.
Yeah, I always tell people, like, it's literally you sitting in one of our kitchens and talking to us, and you just happen to be the guest that day. It's fun. I think the one thing that people get out of it the most is we are authentic.
Yes.
What you see in terms of our conversations, that's live, that's in person, that's us. When we have done, conferences such as Indie Maven, that was us sitting at my island table and having a conversation.
Yep.
And that's all it was. When we did butter, that part was fun because we got to interview more guests and talk about art. Like, it's literally what we would talk about. Like, we were looking at the art, like, I want that. Like, this is what I want.
Right.
And then this artist is right here talking to us. So it's fun, and we love what we do with this podcast.
Yeah,
Really
there's nothing rehearsed, there's nothing scripted. Even with the few times that we've had to start over and start again, because maybe you know, a mic was off or something, how we started over was not the same way as we did it the first time, because it's never scripted or anything like that. It is just us having conversation, and I think that's what people love about it the most, is they can connect with that, they can relate to that, and have that moment of, yeah, girl, me too,
Absolutely.
in our conversations.
I love that. That is so cool. And oh my gosh, Butter was amazing. If you don't already, check out Gang Gang. They are bringing art to the Indianapolis community in a beautiful way, and the artists that they're connecting with our community is just amazing. I've gotten to work with King and Ashley Nora.
Nice.
Beautiful souls, beautiful work. Like, they blow my mind every time they are like, oh, check out this new piece, or like, we have a new exhibit opening up. So I mean, that is so
The level
cool.
of creativity, I mean, it's insane. I mean, we always like to think, okay, Indy is a sports state, it's a basketball state. We've got, you know, the Speedway, but no, we have art and we have culture. And I think that's the one thing that I love the most about this city, is there is so much culture that runs through our vein. It's in our bloodline. So I love that you were spot on with that.
Yes, they're amazing. I was so geeked to hear about an art fair coming to Indianapolis to that level. So that is so cool. I didn't realize that you had gotten to interview some of those artists. So
Yeah,
that's-
we recorded our first live podcast during
Butter.
during Butter, yes, and it was just so cool.
It was.
From the moment we got out of the car and walked up to the door until the time we left, and even after we went to lunch afterwards, and it was just a fulfilling experience.
And it was electric. Like,
Yes.
I mean, we always kind of text in the morning, like before we're doing something together, check in, you know, hey, how you doing, what are you wearing, and how you feeling. But when we walked up to Butter, when we saw the mural, you know, keeping up the culture, like when I was driving down here today, I'm like, oh my gosh, I just love that the mural is still there, because it reminds me of such an amazing time. I mean, it was almost like a gift in the middle of pandemic.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
it was
It's
perfect.
necessary.
It was necessary. Like,
It
we
was
needed
necessary.
that. We needed that fuel.
Mhm.
Yep.
I mean, it catapulted Black Girls Eating. I mean, after that, like, our phones and our emails got went crazy. So thankful for that.
That is so cool. So I mean, so we interviewed female founders, and so I'd love to hear about what your journey's been like a little bit, and especially working, like, having Black Girls Eating while also doing like a 9 to 5. I feel like some of the founders I interview, like, they're all in already. I know I'm 9 to 5 at Big Brothers Big Sisters all day, and then doing More Magazine like any other minute I have to spare. So like, what has that been like for both of you?
Well, for me, I mean, it has been a constant. I started my food blog and food business in 2013. So it's been my everyday. I mean, I have nights where I'm working till, you know, 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and, you know, sending emails, getting packaging designed, and, you know, filling spices, because I am like a one-stop shop. Now, I have a little bit of help, but for the most part, it's a one-stop shop. So it's been a journey, but I'm thankful because it's also helped me compartmentalize, and it's helped me, you know, take a moment and say, no, you are not going to answer that email tonight.
Yep.
Like, I'm going to remember that I am a small woman-owned business, so I'm not competing with Target. I'm not competing with Walmart. I'm not competing with these big brands. I am one person, and I have to remember that. And I think sometimes the public does not remember that.
Yep. Oh, not
When you're
at all.
dealing with small businesses.
Yeah.
And especially woman-owned businesses, because we already have the weight of the world on our shoulders. So, you know, why not just add another thing to your plate? But I think it's important to remember that you've got to set that boundary so that you're not, you know, burning yourself out.
Yeah.
Which I think that happens so often, especially for women. I don't feel like men have that problem so much, but I feel like for us, we feel like we have to do it all the time.
Right.
We actually talked about that when I interviewed Leslie and Amanda for Indie Maven. We were talking about how we always feel like we set up whatever expectation in our mind of what we need to be doing and keep doing. And last year, my word of the year was peace. And so I was like, what do I need to do to protect that peace, to preserve it, and to continue letting it grow, and say no, setting boundaries. Like, those are hard conversations to have, not only in your work life, but in your personal life even. Like,
I feel
that's,
like it's the hardest in your personal life,
yes.
because those are your people that know you the best, and so if you are setting a different approach or saying something different or setting a new boundary, they are going to question it the most, as compared to someone that you work with in your business or your 9 to 5 or whatever the case may be. They don't know.
Right.
They don't know. They're just gonna accept it and receive it as is. But when you are setting a boundary with a family member, when you are setting a boundary with a friend, they're like, wait, what? You're different.
Right.
And that's not easy.
Like, why are you being shady? I'm actually not. I'm protecting myself right now. Let me show you how to do it. It's hard. I mean, but Tanorria and I check each other about that all the time.
Oh yeah.
I'll say, hey, you can tell them no. And she'll tell me, what are you doing? Just because you know that, like, you have to have that checks and balances. And not only is Tanorria my friend in business and, you know, my partner with Black Girls Eating, but she also gives me accountability for my personal life. And I mean, that's the same. And we just do that for each other.
So then having friends who hold you accountable and like looking out for you when you forget to look out for you. That
Absolutely.
I feel like she's gonna always give me accountability for my personal life because she married my husband and I. So I'm like, if anything ever goes wrong, she's gonna be like,
Yeah.
I did not do all this for this.
Exactly.
So
Yeah, I didn't. Okay, that's fine. That is totally fine.
but you need to get over it.
Get over it. Yeah. Speaking of, that was probably one of the most important parts of our relationship is getting the honor and opportunity to marry her and her husband. Like, it was, I still like get chills and like tears like thinking about just how pretty she was and how beautiful she was and just that moment. It was really, and it was hard too.
Yeah, it was definitely a moment of change and sacrifice because my approach to, I've been married before, so my approach to my wedding and getting married and all of this was different and change and outside of the box and beyond the norms. So it was like, it was just a time of change for me. But I knew that she could be there to support me in that. But it was also a time of sacrifice to her because she was grieving.
Yeah.
And so she could have been like, I'm sorry, I can't do this. And I would have had to say, you're my friend and I know you're hurting and that's fine. But she like was able to put herself aside for just a day to be there for me. So it's like, I think that is a great connector in our friendship.
Oh yeah, I mean, because right as I was marrying her, 30 days prior, like she helped me get ready for my wedding. We had a podcast go live. We planned 2 weddings, all within like a 60-day, you know, because that's how Black Girls Eating is. We do a lot. We were always extra, but just being able to be there for each other is, I mean, again, like we tell people all the time, like this is who we are.
Yeah.
Like we are friends. Like we're sisters. Like her mom is still mad at me over me marrying her because I didn't tell. Like
Should be alright.
it was the secret, like best kept secret.
Should be okay.
Her mom's like, you tell that Candace, but you know, so
Should be alright.
I love that. She'll be fine.
she'll be fine.
She'll get over it.
Fine.
Don't worry.
There's not a whole lot she can do about it.
No, that is so cool though, and I did not even realize how like deep that bond went, and like how much you guys went together like that. That's so cool. So Black Girls Eating is in the kitchen. It is just real life. It's authentic. How were you guys just having conversations and you were like, I bet it. Like, how did that come together?
We share a lot of stages. We, I feel like the first time we really connected as, I would say, partners in food was through Indie Women in Food.
Right.
We moderated the diversity series. And so that was really our first time to like work together and feel like, oh, you're like the yin to my yang.
Yeah.
Okay, I did this.
Yeah.
And so then we started being interviewed for other things together, and then we did a talk for Creative Mornings. Prior to our Creative Mornings talk, we had already tossed around the idea of a podcast, but we took our time.
Yeah.
We knew that we wanted Black Girls Eating to be a good quality podcast. We wanted it to be a podcast of substance. We wanted to make sure that whatever brand we created had longevity.
Right.
And so we took our time, probably a good 2 or 3 years, 2 years,
2 years
before we even released Black Girls Eating. And so I think it was our Creative Mornings talk that was like, okay, we need to commit. We need to do this. We've been talking about it for this long. Let's make it happen.
Yeah, and it just so happened we were in a pandemic. So,
Yeah.
like literally, the only thing we didn't do was like go outside and interview people.
Yep.
But we literally were. I mean, Tanorria and I live about 7 minutes away from each other anyway. So I'm like, hey, I'm coming over. Like, can we talk about this, or can we jump on a Zoom? And we really took the time and care to make our podcast what it is today. And like, I don't think people understand. Like, we give a damn about our podcast.
Right.
Like we care a lot. Like, we care a lot about our guests, how they're treated from start to finish.
Yeah.
We care about the finished product of our podcast. We think about, okay, how is this going to be received out to the world? And so it was Creative Mornings that really kind of just said, okay, you guys are doing it. I mean, and Ryan Huntley and his team, oh my God, they were like, okay, if y'all didn't think y'all were gonna do a podcast, you are now. Like, yeah. So it's just.
And I think also the thing that makes our podcast so great and sustained is that from the very beginning, our goal has always been to amplify Black talent.
Correct.
Not just in the food world, but in general, to amplify Black talent. And so not only do we do that with our guests, but our sound engineer is a Black business owner. The person who handcrafted our intro and outro music is a Black musician.
Yeah.
So yeah, just all of the things that we've woven into how the podcast even came about has always been centered around our objective.
That is very cool. So, from like small business to a small business, I feel like whenever I am doing something, it's like, okay, like my name is on this, like if I'm doing this, I'm standing behind it. Have you ever had anything where people like came to you and you kind of had to be like, this does not align, like this, like how have you kind of not battled, but mitigated, worked with that?
I feel like in regards to Black girls eating, the only thing that I can really think that would stand out for that is when we get people inquire to be a guest. All of our guests are people that we have sought out, but we do get inquiries that come in to see if they could be a guest on the podcast, and I don't feel like we really sat on the fence about it, but it was something that was like, okay, this is a time where we're learning, where we're gonna have to say no, and it was guests that were not people of color.
That were not people of color or people that had never, ever listened to our podcast.
Yeah.
I'm like, we're with the shenanigans. So like you bringing yourself into this space, like you have to know, like we're gonna ask hard questions.
Yeah.
We are not always, family friendly.
Right.
We're gonna discuss, things that are, real and adult. So did you bring yourself here just because you want us to publish your book, push out your creativity? Like that's fine, but that's not who we are.
Right.
And I think the good thing is like, I'm like, well, I appreciate you for coming here.
Yeah, like I'm flattered.
And Tanorria and I are both like, nah. And I love that because almost 9 times out of 10, we're always on the same page.
Yep. Yep.
I mean, we're just not gonna fight about it.
Right.
Now we do have people that have given us, a couple of like negative reviews on our podcast, but a lot of times it's because they didn't like what we had to say because it made them think outside the box.
Yeah.
Okay.
They can get rocked.
Yeah, we don't care. Like I'm not gonna defend being Black to you. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
defend being a Black woman to you, being a Black creative. I'm just not.
Yeah. I mean, they're on their own journey of where they're learning, and
Yeah.
so they'll get there. I hold hope for those people.
Right.
I do.
You hold up. Keep holding up.
Okay, let me make sure. I make note of that. Keep that on my to-do list.
Right.
Yeah.
But no, this is so cool. And so, talking about Black creative, so your book, let's talk about that. Like, did you plan to create a cookbook? Like, did that come from your journey with Black Girls Eating podcast? Like, how did that?
I always dreamed of having a cookbook. I can embarrassingly admit now, because I have a book, I can admit this now, that I used to stand in my kitchen and pretend I was Julia Child and had a library of cookbooks behind me, and like I was doing a cooking show like hers. And so it's always been a dream of mine. I even dreamed to write more, but I feel like I wrote this early on in the pandemic. And so I feel like God put this project in my lap at the right time. And so the expectation to like have a cookbook right after MasterChef, it wouldn't have been a good fit. The expectation to have a cookbook where I was still navigating like structure and workflow for my business, it wouldn't have been a good fit. But I had all of those things in place now. And so, it was a good fit to write a book, and so it literally is a dream come true. It is one of those things I can, in fact, check off a bucket list.
That is amazing.
It was really fun to watch her go through that. Like I remember her calling me. Now Tanorria and I operate between text, voice memos, and Instagram.
All the things.
Like all the things. We can be talking about 7 different things at one different time. So when she called me and said, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, like I knew it was like a big deal. There was also another best kept secret. I was like, wait, like when she finally announced that she was putting out her cookbook, I was like, thank the Lord, I can tell somebody. I was so excited though, just because, again, like I watched her on MasterChef. She was robbed. It's fine. I'm over it now. I watched her on MasterChef, and then I watched this trajectory of her business and her writing her book, and seeing some of the proofs and seeing the pictures that she took for the cover, and asking them like, "What should I wear this color?" I'm like, "Absolutely, wear the yellow because you look great in yellow. This looks good in pink." I mean, just to see all of that, like from a friend standpoint, it's amazing. So to like for her to say like it's a check off my bucket list, it's a check off my bucket list too because I got to experience that with her. So it was fun.
You were the true keeper of secrets. Like,
oh my gosh, let me tell you. Let me tell you.
Oh my gosh, we're gonna have to do an extended version of this.
We always say that one of our goals for the podcast is to build it out for subscribed listeners so that they get to see more of the tea and see us live recording it.
Yes.
Because we're a mess.
Yeah.
We are a mess. When we record it, we are silly. And I love that our sound engineer does such a great job of making us look great because there's times that he probably could have made us look like a hot mess because of our banter and our dynamic and the amount of times we roll our eyes. Just that alone. There needs to be a reel of just us rolling our eyes while we're talking about certain things during the podcast. So, yeah.
Well, let me know when that drops.
Absolutely.
That is amazing. Okay, so before we get to final questions, where can we find your cookbook?
Yeah, you can get Staples Plus 5 anywhere books are sold. I am actually headed to Indie Reads Books after this to go sign their copies. So if you want to shop small, support a local independent bookstore, Indie Reads Books carries it. Also, Wild Geese Bookshop in Franklin, Indiana. You can go online or you can go there. It's such a cute little bookstore. It's such a town that is cute and you didn't know it. Yeah, it's like in a house. It's super cute. And so I signed a bunch of their copies a couple weeks ago. So between those two places, there's signed copies. You can go to my website, tanorriastable.com/books, and that basically lists anywhere that you can buy it.
Awesome. We will link all of that below. But now, for the final question. What do the two of you do, either together or individually, that inspires yourself?
I'm going to answer first.
Okay.
For myself, it's showing up as myself for myself.
Yeah.
Even when it's hard, even when it's not going to be received as I would like it to be. That's the one thing I can always say is that I wake up as myself and I go to bed as myself. There's never any time that you're not going to see me being myself. So it may not be pretty always, I may not have a big face, but it is what it is, and I am who I am. Together, I think it is the love that we have for each other as friends, the respect that we have for each other as foodies and food creatives, and the loyalty that we have to each other, to our podcast and to our brand that we create together. That inspires me because, again, what you see in terms of this is what you're going to get. Like there's never not a moment that I'm not going to cheer for her and that she's not going to cheer for me. So that inspires me, and I hope that it inspires other people.
Yeah, that's amazing. And so when you said that, it kind of reminded me of there's this woman I really look up to, and she said at one point, she's like, I have to make the best choices for me because at the end of the day, I sleep with myself at night.
Yeah.
And if I'm going to bed with somebody I'm not happy with, then I'm doing something wrong. So that is so cool that I love that.
Absolutely.
For me, it is similar to what Candace said. I know my core values and I can stand firm in my values. I can make decisions in my values. I can support other people and inspire other people and all of those things based on my values. And anytime I feel lost or all over the place or unsure, I can take it back to my values. And so even just the words that my values are, although there's one of them I cannot remember right now, but heart, union, source, brilliance, and there's a fifth one. those words inspire me just alone, and then to know what they mean to me as well, I get to use those to inspire others, and that's inspiring to me. For the two of us, I think the most inspirational thing about Candace and I is our sisterhood. Like, she has a younger sister. I always grew up wanting a sister, and I feel like more specifically in the last few years, I have had this yearning for relationships with people who have shared experiences, basically with strong Black women. And so we have this bond and this sisterhood between us, and it really does represent what real relationship and sisterhood should be. For example, she's being modest and not mentioning her business and her spice line, but I know that I can go and be her cheerleader and she can be my cheerleader, and it doesn't negate my business and my accomplishments. It doesn't diminish her business and her accomplishments when she's cheering me on. And that is very rare in relationships, to say that we have these two very distinct, in some ways similar things, but we can find a way to bring them together and to bring each other together and still like shine light on each other's silos. I don't know, that it's just not often. It is not often you see that, and I hope that inspires people, because it definitely inspires me and proves that this yearning to have a relationship like this has value.
That's amazing. And to like constantly be like supporting one another without having like that jealousy or that feel of competition, because it's about like that community that's found within it. So I mean, that's amazing. Okay, before I close out, give me that spice line.
See?
Yeah.
I knew that was coming. I knew that was
I was
coming.
waiting for you to mention it, because
I know.
I didn't want to like, so.
I am horrible at self-promoting. Tanorria
Right.
knows that.
But you know what? I have recognized that your friends are your best PR.
Yeah.
Because especially in this day and age, as Black women,
Yeah.
you are going to be told that you're taking up too much space, that you're too loud, or
Got too
that,
much attitude.
oh my gosh, why are you always talking about that?
Right.
And I'm like, when your friends are able to like kind of help you come out of that, they're like your best PR people. I hardly ever talk about MasterChef anymore, but she doesn't let me forget it. and I need that for her. I need that reminder.
Yeah.
So I have a spice line. You can find it at foodlovetalk.com/spiceslanger. You can get it at a couple places in the city. You can try it at the Track. You can try it at Missing Brick. You can go to the Market. You can go to Cleo's Bodega. So you can get it there, or you can order it on my website. I love it. It's handcrafted. It's small batch. It's not like anything you're going to find in stores, I think. But yeah, I mean, I particularly started it because I wanted to watch the heart healthiness for my parents. So I started making my house seasoning probably about 20 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And I've been making it for my dad now forever. He just now realized that it didn't have any salt in it. A couple of years ago, I had been tricking him, so that felt really good to do. But it's a love relationship. I love to be able to season the nasties, as I call it. So.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. We will link that below as well. Thank you both again so much for your time. We are so thankful to Indie Maven for partnering with us this season, Founder to Founder, and connecting us with such amazing, inspiring female founders. And a huge thank you to Kelley School of Business Indianapolis for joining us as we work to elevate female founders' voices across a variety of industries. And we'll see you next time.